It begins quietly. A headache, a fever, a tiredness so ordinary it could be malaria or typhoid or just the weight of another hard day in the gold mines. For months, that is exactly what doctors in Northeastern Democratic Republic of the Congo thought they were treating. They were wrong. By the time the world learned the name of the thing killing people in the mining town of Mongbwalu, it had already been spreading for 3 months. 3 months of funerals. 3 months of misdiagnosis. 3 months of invisible movement along muddy roads and river crossings and bush paths that do not appear on any map. Today, that outbreak is the deadliest Ebola epidemic in the Democratic Republic of the Congo's recorded history. It is the fastest Ebola outbreak ever recorded, and the World Health Organization warns it is on track to surpass the catastrophe that tore through West Africa a decade ago, the one that killed more than 11,000 people. Right now, someone dies from it every 30 minutes, and most of the world is not watching. Mongbwalu is not a place that often makes the news. It is a gold mining town of roughly 130,000 people in Ituri province, in the far northeast of the Democratic Republic of the Congo. The mines here are small-scale, unlicensed, and everywhere. Men and women dig by hand in pits that scar the rainforest. They move. They cross borders. They carry money and goods, and sometimes, without ever knowing it, a virus. Scientists now believe the virus was already circulating in Mongbwalu as early as February 2026. Patients arrived at Mongbwalu General Hospital with fevers and bleeding. Doctors treated them for malaria, for typhoid, for anything that made sense in a place where those diseases are a daily fact of life. The hospital's medical director watched his own colleagues fall. An anesthesiologist died on May the 9th. A surgical assistant died the next day. The director himself got sick and somehow survived. On May the 30th, a formal outbreak signal was finally reported. Initial tests in the provincial capital, Bunia, came back negative for the one strain of Ebola everyone was looking for. Samples had to be sent 1,000 miles to the capital, Kinshasa. On May the 14th, the lab confirmed it. Not Zaire Ebola, the strain that caused West Africa and that has an approved vaccine. Something rarer. Something with no vaccine, no treatment, and almost no modern playbook. The Bundibugyo virus. The next day, May the 15th, Congolese authorities declared an outbreak. A day after that, the World Health Organization declared a public health emergency of international concern. The virus had a head start of nearly 100 days. It has never given it back. To understand what makes this outbreak different, you have to understand the virus itself. There are several species of Ebola. The most infamous is Zaire, the one that swept West Africa in 2014, with a historical fatality rate of roughly 2 out of every 3 people it infected. There is a vaccine for Zaire. There are treatments for Zaire. The world has spent a decade preparing for Zaire. Bundibugyo is different. It was only discovered in 2007 during an outbreak along the border of Uganda and the Democratic Republic of the Congo. Before 2026, it had caused just 2 known outbreaks. Historically, it is slightly less lethal than Zaire, but that is precisely what makes it so dangerous now. Epidemiologists have a grim phrase for it: walking Ebola. Because early symptoms are milder, a headache, a fever, joint pain that feels like flu, people do not immediately collapse. They walk. They go to market. They travel to the next town to see family. They go to work in the mines. By the time the virus reveals itself, through vomiting, diarrhea, and organ failure, they have already spent days infecting the people around them. Ebola spreads through direct contact with the bodily fluids of an infected person. Blood, vomit, sweat, saliva. It spreads through contaminated bedding and clothing. And it spreads catastrophically through the handling of the dead. In this outbreak, between 60 and 70% of deaths are happening not in treatment centers, but inside communities, in homes, in villages, surrounded by family. That means the bodies are being washed, touched, and buried by the people who love them. Each funeral becomes a transmission event. Each traditional burial, an act of love that can kill. The Director General of the World Health Organization has called it a catastrophic collision of disease and conflict. Eastern Democratic Republic of the Congo has been at war in one form or another for nearly 30 years. More than 100 armed groups operate across its eastern provinces. Around 6.9 million people have been displaced, one of the largest displaced populations on Earth. In Ituri province alone, the epicenter of this outbreak, roughly 900,000 people live in displacement camps. That matters because a virus does not respect front lines. A family fleeing a militia attack does not stop at an Ebola checkpoint. A contact tracer cannot follow a chain of transmission through a road controlled by an armed group. It also matters because the people of this region have been traumatized, repeatedly, by outsiders arriving with promises, soldiers, aid groups, governments, and then leaving. So when health workers in plastic suits show up and say, "Do not touch your dead, do not bury your mother, give us her body," the answer, often, is anger. Misinformation has spread alongside the virus. Some people believe Ebola is not real. Some believe it is a plot. In May, an angry crowd attacked Mongbwalu's only hospital and burned down a patient isolation tent. Soldiers had to fire warning shots to disperse them. The health workers themselves are overwhelmed. Many have not been paid in months. In August, staff at the Nizi Treatment Center in Ituri walked off the job after 3 months without salaries, forcing the center to close temporarily. Doctors Without Borders describes oxygen shortages, inadequate protective equipment, and a desperate lack of nurses trained to work safely inside high-risk isolation wards. Dozens of health workers have already died. When a clinic becomes infected, it often has to shut down entirely for deep cleaning, which means, for the people who live nearby, there is suddenly nowhere to give birth, nowhere to treat a child's malaria, nowhere to go when the next emergency arrives. The war does not pause for a virus. The virus does not negotiate with militias, and the people caught between them have almost nowhere to turn. Now, let us talk about the numbers, because they are almost impossible to absorb. The outbreak was formally declared on May the 15th. It reached 250 deaths in 37 days. For comparison, the catastrophic West African outbreak of 2014 took 78 days to reach the same milestone. The devastating DRC outbreak of 2018 took 130 days. This outbreak reached 1,000 confirmed cases in 38 days. In 2018, that took more than 230 days. By August the 17th, the death toll stood at 2,325, officially surpassing the entire 2018 to 2020 DRC epidemic to become the deadliest Ebola outbreak in the country's history. By the end of that week, cases had crossed 5,000. The case fatality rate had climbed to 46%. In North Kivu province, it reached 70%. The United Nations humanitarian chief put it in terms no statistic can soften. 1 person is dying every 30 minutes. The virus has spread to 6 of the DRC's 26 provinces: Ituri, North Kivu, South Kivu, Haut-Uele, Chopo, and Bas-Uele, across more than 55 health zones. It has crossed borders. Neighboring Uganda confirmed 20 cases and 2 deaths before bringing its cluster under control. In June, the first European case linked to this outbreak was confirmed in France. The Central African Republic, South Sudan, and the Republic of the Congo are now on high alert. And here is the number that keeps epidemiologists awake at night. Between 60 and 70% of new cases are appearing in people who were never on any contact tracers list. They are not being monitored. They are not in isolation. They are unknown until they become a hospital admission or a body. That is what epidemiologists mean when they use the phrase hidden transmission. It means the virus is moving through a population faster than the system can see it. It means every number you hear is almost certainly an underestimate. And yet, people are fighting. In Geneva, at the World Health Organization, officials are blunt. The outbreak had a big head start, Tedros Adhanom Ghebreyesus told reporters. It is still way ahead of us, and we are playing catch-up. But the agency has launched what it calls a major scale-up in every aspect of the response, and it says it believes transmission can be brought under control within 3 months if the world commits the resources. Those resources are beginning to move. The United Kingdom has pledged £20 million. The United States has committed $112 million in bilateral aid for protective equipment, screening, contact tracing, and diagnostics. The European Union has pledged €15 million. The United Nations Humanitarian Fund has allocated more than $80 million, with additional staff deployed to the front lines. The most urgent race is scientific. Because there is no approved vaccine for Bundibugyo, researchers are trying to build one in the middle of an outbreak. 3 vaccine candidates are being fast-tracked. One from the University of Oxford, using the same ChAdOx1 technology behind the AstraZeneca COVID vaccine. One from Moderna, and one from the biomedical group IAVI. The Coalition for Epidemic Preparedness Innovations is funding all 3. In late July, Oxford launched its first human trial. The World Health Organization has also authorized a large-scale trial of the existing Zaire vaccine, Ervebo, to test whether it offers any cross-protection, a possibility raised by animal studies, but far from certain. 2 experimental treatments, the antiviral remdesivir and a monoclonal antibody called MBP-134, entered clinical trials in Ituri in July. On the ground, the largest medical response is being run by Doctors Without Borders, which has more than 1,400 staff deployed across 4 DRC provinces and in Uganda. They are running treatment centers, setting up isolation units, delivering protective gear, and the hardest and most important work, trying to rebuild trust in communities that have been given every reason not to trust anyone. On August the 23rd, the outbreak reached a grim marker. 100 days since it was formally declared. So why does an outbreak in eastern Congo matter to someone watching this in London, or Mumbai, or New York, or anywhere far from Ituri? The honest answer is, because a virus does not care about a map. The 2014 West African outbreak began with a single child in a remote village in Guinea. By the time it ended, it had reached 3 continents, infected more than 28,000 people, and killed more than 11,000. That outbreak took 5 months to reach 1,000 deaths. This one did it in less than 3. But there is another reason it matters, and it is less practical than moral. The people dying in Ituri are not numbers. They are miners and mothers, nurses and farmers, children born into a region that has been abandoned by almost everyone except the people paid to extract its gold. They are dying at a rate of 1 every 30 minutes from a disease for which, in the year 2026, there is still no approved vaccine. They are dying in a war zone, in displacement camps, in villages reached only by footpath. They are dying too often, alone. The global news cycle has moved on. It always does. There is always another crisis, another election, another headline. But this outbreak has not moved on. It is spreading right now, while you watch this, while I speak this, while the world looks away. The test of a globally connected world is not whether we can build vaccines in record time. We have proven that we can. The test is whether we can care enough and act fast enough when the people dying are far from us and poor and on the wrong side of a war.
This is happening right now. If it made you feel something, share it. That is how attention moves. That is how resources move. That is how a story that should be on the front page finally gets there. Thank you for watching. We will keep following this one. Stay curious, stay aware, and we will see you in the next one.